Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. Sorry if it is quite a bit dark, but I swear to God, Montreal hasn't had any sunshine all week and this is all the light I have to work with, so that's what we're doing. Today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I read in October and what I thought about them. Now the only problem with this is that it's actually not yet the end of October, it's actually only the 27th. So there is one book that I've started reading but I haven't finished it, and when we get there we will just I'll add in a clip. Basically, I'm going on vacation and I don't want to film an entire video while I'm on vacation, so I'm pre-filming, but the video I had to pre-film is unfortunately one of the ones that is very difficult to pre-film. In conclusion, I just didn't plan this very well, but this is what we're dealing with. Okay, great, let's talk about some books. So here's my lovely stack of books. In October, I read a total of 6 books. 5 of them were owned, 1 of them was loaned, so I had 5 physical reads and 1 digital read, and all 6 of these books were brand new to me. So this month I will have read 2,663 pages for an average book length of 444 pages, which also averages out to about 86 pages a day, so not too bad, not too shabby. I don't have my average rating for books this month right now because, as I said, I'm still currently reading one, but I will pop that here. Oh my god, really? It's that amazing? That's what I gave the books? Fantastic. So let's talk about the books that I have in my little lappy lap right here, shall we? So the first book that I read this month was The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the second book in the Thursday Murder mystery series by him, and I ended up giving this 5 stars. I love this one even more than the first book. I felt like all of my favorite things of the first book, like the characters, their shenanigans, their banter with each other, and the mystery and the complexity of the mystery were all there, but it also improved on a few of the things from the first book that I found were lacking a bit, which was being able to follow the plot clearly. And also I found the first book had way too many named tiny characters that did not matter, which made it hard, again, to follow. But I feel like combination of, I think the writing is done better in this, as well as you're now familiar with a lot of the characters because it is the second in the series. Those problems were fixed for me, so I just ended up absolutely loving this one. There is a lot more spy-like behavior happening in this, which I absolutely adored, and I gave it 5 stars. It was fabulous. It was wonderful. The month started off amazing. So next up, I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy by her, and I actually read this along with The Man Who Died Twice for a reading vlog, which I will link for you, where I read mystery series sequels, and it was quite successful. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I didn't like this one quite as much as I liked the first book, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I felt like the first book felt like a complete story. It felt completely wrapped up in the one book, so I was kind of hesitant about like what exactly is this book going to be about, where's the mystery going to come from, but I did find the mystery really interesting. I really loved the podcasting element. It kind of replaced the journal entry elements from the first book, so it provided the same purpose, but it was a little different than the last time, which was nice. The only thing I found that I struggled with in this is that I did not like our main character Pip in this book at times. In the first book, she does some unlikable things, but you're able to kind of still like her as an overall character and person because there's like reasonings behind why she's doing these things. You know, she kind of falls into this obsession of solving the mystery in the first book, and as a result does some not amazing actions. However, in this book, she continues to do that, but she also is like self-aware that she's like doing things that are like mean and bad and wrong and questionable, but then like continues to do them. So it's really hard for me to like you when you're doing that knowingly. you know? So I struggled with that. So that's kind of why this wasn't another 5-star read. But in general, I think it's like a super quick read. It's a super fun read. There's a lot of like tension and drama kind of going on. You want to follow it. You want to keep reading. Holly Jackson writes this kind of story really well, I think. And in this one, it felt still a little young, but it didn't read quite as young as A Good Girl's Guide to Murder did for me. It felt a little bit more elevated, which makes sense. Pip is a bit older in this one, not by much. She's like, is pretty close after the first book that this takes place. But I did enjoy the writing in this, and I will be reading the 3rd book eventually. I'm gonna buy it and I'll read it because I like to own things. So after Good Girl Bad Blood, I ended up reading The House of Hades, which is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series by Riordan. I gave this 4.5 stars. This was such a refreshing book in this series to read after I didn't really like The Mark of Athena. I liked The Mark of Athena, but I didn't have that great of a time with it. There was a lot of things in it that kind of bothered me a bit and brought it down. But this one I really loved. There was so much character development in this book. All of the characters really have been developed in this through the plots of this book. They all kind of had their own mini individual missions to grow themselves and kind of really like come into themselves and their abilities and powers as demigods before, you know, the finale in the 5th book. And it also allowed you to get to know all of them a bit more because they were kind of going on these individual little tasks. But it all was like within the one big story. And this one worked well because for the majority of the book, our gang is kind of split. So there's people here and there's people here, and they're both trying to get to one place. And so when the point of views switch, are always switching which place you're in, but you're in different characters. So you'll have like the one person here, and then you'll switch and you'll read from a perspective here. But instead of switching to a new perspective here, you always will switch back. But it might be to a different perspective of someone over here, if that makes sense. I like that because I found it was easier to follow the storyline that way. That was another one of my issues with The Mark of Athena, was that I felt like you were just switching and reading from so many characters. It was hard to really see the through line of the plot. So this was, like I said, just such a refreshing read. I really loved it, and I'm hoping for a really big, exciting 5-star finale for this series when I will be reading it. I'm planning on hopefully finishing the Heroes of Olympus before the end of the year, but I'm not going to make any promises. So after that, I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and I was so excited to read this. I really wanted to read this in October, and October really felt like the perfect time to read it. I've heard such amazing things about this book, so I really wanted to read it, and I'm happy that I did because I gave this 5 stars. I thought this book was amazing. The time loop scenario in this is done so well. I loved it. So in this, you're following, basically, you're reading from the perspective of a mother, and she's waiting up for her teenage son to come home, and as she's looking out the window, she witnesses him murder somebody, and then she starts going back in time where like she'll go to bed and wake up and it's yesterday, and go to bed yesterday and wake up and it's the day before yesterday, so on and so forth. So instead of repeating the same day over and over to try and fix or like, you know, stop the murder from happening, she instead is like continually going back in time and desperately trying to find out how to stop this and how to get out of it, because every day, you know, like everything she did hasn't happened. It's amazing. I adored this book. Gillian McAllister actually has another book that came out this year. I can't recall the name of it right now, but it has like a purpley cover. Is it like Just Another Missing Person? Something like that? Something along those lines. Honestly, you know what? It's probably written in the back of this book. Use my little tiny pea brain. Just Another Missing Person. Oh my god, I got it right. So I actually also would want to read that because I really adored her writing in this, and I would love to see what her other stories are like, because you can't always write a time loop mystery. So I want to see if I like her other writing as well. I think it would be a very fun thing to explore, because I think this could be a very well-loved author for me potentially, because I really like the writing in this. I then read Dracula by Bram Stoker. So this was on my 23 books in 2023 list, and I got to tick that off. And I actually made a reading vlog for this as well, so you can check that out. I will link that for you. And I ended up giving this 4 stars. I thought that overall I really liked the story. I actually liked it much more than I thought I was going to. I hadn't read any kind of horror novel before this, and I also haven't read a classic in a while, so I wasn't sure how I would adjust to the writing style of it when I was reading it, but I did really enjoy it. I found that it being written all through diary entries and letters was something that I enjoyed. I feel like that's not something that everybody does, but I thought it really worked for this. And I liked how, you know, the beginning really sets up where Jonathan goes to Transylvania to see Count Dracula to help set up him buying a home in England. It's all highly atmospheric, creepy, ominous, you know, gothic vibes. And after that, you go back to all the other characters who are in England, including like Mina, Jonathan's fiance, and there's like a doctor and Mina's friend Lucy, and then her fiance and this American guy named Quincy. Anyway, and you kind of like follow all of them, and they all kind of have at first have their individual stories, but they all like come together, and it's really like fun to read that, especially with this constant dark ominous vibe through the whole thing. Again, felt appropriate to read this at the end of October. I did find there was like portions of this where it was the story of like a psychiatric patient named Renfield, and I like never really liked reading those parts. It's kind of like I felt very I didn't necessarily like dislike them, but I just felt very neutral towards them. I was like, if this was not here, I would potentially prefer it. But that it wasn't like a huge part of the book, but it was a decent enough chunk of it was around that I was kind of like, kind of wish this wasn't here. But the ending was so good. It was like not dragged out too much, but it felt like it, you know, had enough for there to be like the tension and all of that. But then when things were done, it wrapped up quickly and then it was over, and I was happy about that, because I don't need a big long, you know, epilogue kind of thing going on. So I like this. It's probably I would say one of my preferred classics. I haven't read too many, but it's definitely worth the read in my opinion. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And then the book that I'm currently reading right now is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is her first in the Dreamland Billionaires trilogy. I only just started this like today, so I'm only like 50 pages into it. So I will insert a clip of me talking about my thoughts on this book.
Hello, it is Vacation Michaela, and I have finished The Fine Print. I just woke up, so my voice sounds horrible, but I actually finished this a few days ago, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. I did like the ending, and I did like the overall story, and I thought the characters were kind of interesting. Honestly, Zara kind of annoyed me a bit for the first bit. I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about her. Well, also, honestly, both of them kind of annoyed me a bit, but then they grew on me, and I kept reading. I did, however, find that it was strange, like in the midway point, because it felt like it was like a slow burn scenario, but then the slow burn ended like really quick, and I was like, it was like whiplash of like how quick things moved all of a sudden. But then it kind of like went back to like a normal pace, so then I like liked it again. But like when they first got together, I was like, whoa, how did we get from here to here? Like where's the connection? I'm not seeing it. I also didn't like at the beginning that it was like, wow, I hate her, but she's so hot, and I'm like, that and this like they're like, they can't help but be attracted to each other. It was a bit much. It was a little heavy-handed for me personally, but I think I'll still continue in the series because overall I did like it. There's just like some things that irked me a little bit because it was a little weird, a little strange, a little awkward, just in my personal opinion. I know this is like a pretty loved series, and I can kind of see why, because it is fun to read while still not being like, it's rom-com-y but not like too rom-com-y. So I get it. But yeah, 3 stars. Solid, okay book. We'll read more by the author. Yes.
Wow, great. Those were some amazing thoughts I had on that book right now. So glad I talked about it. So those were the books that I read in the month of October. It was overall a very good month. I'm assuming, I haven't finished the fine print yet, but I'm assuming it wasn't so horrible that my ratings overall it like ruined the month for me. So it was a really good month. I really feel like I'm in my October. I really was just reading mysteries. I was loving mysteries. I was loving the mystery thriller genre this month, and it worked well for me. I think I might be actually more of a mood reader than I initially thought I was. So that's kind of like a fun thing to be experiencing right now. But I also do want to become more of a romance girly, so I might be reading some more romance. I might be planning that. I don't know. I won't guarantee it, but that's what I read this month. I would love to know your thoughts on if you've read any of these books, and if you have any suggestions of books you think I might like because I've liked these books, let me know. And also let me know what your favorite book was that you read this month. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you happen to like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. And with that, I will see you in the next one. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Bye-bye.